3, right after 3. All right. There we go. I hear everybody. There we go. Well, I hear you and I. So once again, we had you actually last year talking to us.
Yep.
And it was a little earlier than this, but that's good.
Still dark.
And it's still dark, correct?
That's right.
And so we're glad that you're with us again. And so let's talk about homelessness here in Wilkes-Barre.
Let me tell you about just driving over here.
Sure.
How lonely the streets are. It's what I noticed, right? I live 2 blocks from here. And one, the fog, how eerie it is. 2, just the wetness of things. But the loneliness. I didn't see a single person on the way over here, right? Until I got here, and
right.
I could see a couple of people here on the square. But I had a deep sense of alone. And it just dawned on me, because I'm coming here, I know what we want to talk about on this deep issue that we need to solve. How alone these people can be and have no one that you can really talk to.
And I think that one of the interesting things that I had was I actually got the privilege of being out here on the square for 24 hours. And everyone says it was very lonely, right? It was very, I got to see people that were interacting and up all night, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got thinking here, we see people when we're working during the day shift, and then that's when we start seeing them doing things that we're like, wait a minute, that's not appropriate, that's not right.
Oh, I saw a lot of drinking. I gave a tour of the courthouse yesterday, right? To a group of senior citizens, actually from Philadelphia. They came out for a tour. They do other things in Philadelphia, or Wilkes-Barre. But I walked home from the courthouse. I'll cross through the River Common, and there's one spot of the River Common that is chronically guys sitting out there drinking.
Yep.
And what goes through my head at the first time is, oh man, they're annoying the neighbors.
Yep.
They're annoying other people who want to jog, ride their bike, walk their dog.
Yep.
On the River Common.
And what's interesting is that I start thinking like, okay, so they're up all night, and now they're up all during the day, and that's when they start making irrational decisions, right? We start having the limbic system kicking in, and they start making all those decisions that we find offensive, that they just can't control, because that's how they're trying to survive out there. And so that brought me to the whole idea is, wouldn't it be great, right, if we could have a building that they could all go to and start flipping that switch where they can sleep during the day and then or sleep during the night, and then during the day they're up, where they can start making those rational decisions, start making those things to get better. And that's really the big thing that clicked here tonight, was that like we do need a place to start changing their behavior and changing the way that they think and the process that goes through. And so it was kind of eye-opening to see it in this direction. But being on council, obviously, you see in a lot of playmaking and a lot of decision making that needs to go on in helping this city. And I think we talked about this last year, in that we got to start doing something, right? And so
Without a doubt.
I think the best way to do it is in small steps, right?
Incrementally.
You can't just go right to the big gun and say, okay, we got it, we're doing it, Wilkes-Barre's going to got it, and we're done. I think we need to go in small steps. And I think I brought out to you last time about Code Blue.
Yes.
And so for people that don't know what Code Blue is actually when the weather is below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is a foot of snow, or either one. We open the doors to buildings to allow the homeless to come in to get out of the elements, so that we don't have any deaths of hypothermia or freezing or anything like that.
Right.
So, again, I know it's a process, and I know we have to go through the steps. And what are your thoughts? I know we talked about it last time, but have you changed thoughts, think differently, or what do you think about doing a Code Blue?
It is the most humane thing to do. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. I would imagine you obviously need to find a place. There needs to be a place to do that. But what instantly comes to mind is a gym, right? It's just some place for some temporary solution or reason.
And Scranton does that. So Scranton uses a gym.
Right.
That's exactly what they use.
There you go.
So, ironically, you are 100% correct. We actually we use a gym, and we do it. We're going to do it again this year.
Right.
And so we put cots up in a gym. They stay the night, and they have the showers that they can use there too.
Right.
So it kills two birds with one stone.
Yes. Right. Gyms come with showers. Come with gym. Gyms come with showers. Exactly.
So that's actually ironic that you did say that.
Yeah.
That's why I was laughing. So.
What do you think? I mean, I live in this neighborhood, so I'm living amongst homeless all the time and working amongst them all the time. But we're a two-college town that has these two gyms that I drive by every single day, and I would imagine. Both would be eager to help somehow in that code blue kind of situation. Now, on the governmental end, is it kind of like, I guess, declaring a state of emergency, like when there's really bad weather, governmental entities declare states of emergency, so that would have to come from City Hall.
Right, and so the way we do it with Scranton is Scranton lets us look at the AccuWeather, is what we use as the model.
Correct. Okay.
And so we'll look at the next week's AccuWeather, and we'll say, okay, Tuesday they're calling for 19 degrees, Wednesday they're calling for 21 degrees, and Thursday they're calling for 14 degrees. So we know that Code Blue will open up on Tuesday and Thursday. And so that means that week, when that week happens, if Tuesday happens to be 21 degrees and it's not 13 degrees, we still have it open just because we announced that it was open.
Right.
So we follow AccuWeather is what we do there.
Got it. And then do you make a sweep through the city? I suppose your organization.
What we do is we notify all the agencies.
All the agencies
in the county.
Right.
And we say, okay, hey, Code Blue is happening. We actually this year implemented a light on our building, kind of like Kmart, the blue light special.
Blue light special.
So we flip the light on, and so now we have a blue light that will notify people that it's Code Blue Day. It's going to be open, and so then they come in. We chaperone in the building, and then when it's over, we clean the building up, and we're out for the day.
I'd imagine through our police department, the police chief could release something down to the cars that are on the street at the time. I think at any one time there's 5 or 6 police cars per zones, but obviously if they see someone, they could say, hey, go over to the CYC gym, go over to King's gym.
And that's what's awesome about it.
Right.
It's open to the public that they can do that.
Right.
So let me ask you, what other issues do you see? And obviously dealing with homelessness, I understand there's other issues that you got to deal with in the city, which I really don't fall in that category. But with homelessness, what do you see I know you said about the loneliness when you first got here, but what other things do you see that might be a change or something that we, because I believe when we talked earlier, we had Kendra and Matt Vogue on, Kendra Radel and Matt Vogue on, and I said that we really need to have 2 summits here in Luzerne and Lackawanna. The one summit we need is to get political people together in one room and say, okay, what are the problems? What are the issues that we're having? What's going on? And then the second summit we need to have is get the business sector in and say, you're the think tank, right? Here's your problem. Help us find a solution for it, because I think that business savvy people have that mindset to come up with the ingenuity in that. But I think we need to do a summit for political people and say, okay, you guys got the gatekeeper to the money, you got the gatekeeper to the resources. Now tell us as as social services, what do we need?
Right.
And so this is kind of like the baby step talking to you about this, but what do you think might be the gap or resources that need to be met? I mean, your city, or I guess you guys have what? Territories in your area?
Yeah, we have districts. So I cover one half of downtown and Rolling Mill Hill neighborhood. So put it this way. There's a homeless guy who I have been friends with now for, I'm going to say 6, 7 years. So before I even got elected to council. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I open up my house on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter.
That I do know. Yeah.
And there's this one homeless gentleman who used to come when he was coherent, and I used to help him a lot. Time to time, by necessity, like a blanket and a pillow, which I know would last only so long, and see him again. Try, a lot of dollar stores around here. It's really easy to do. Got him actually to the point where he did get into housing at Wilkes-Barre Housing Authority, but walked away. You know, East End Towers up here on Scott Street, right? No, I find him on the River Common all the time. Each and every time, each and every month I see him, he is worse and worse and worse. Actually, he used to even come to church. He was showing up at our church at St. Stephen's for services. I don't think really for worship, but just, you know, to sit in the background. Well, they disappeared. He disappeared actually for, I would say, a whole year. Then he popped up and probably lost half his teeth. Looked 10 years older than what he really is. But he was 25 years older than what he really is. But he aged like 10 years. This is after he left the apartment. And I'm like, I won't say his name. What's going on with you? And could not really communicate. Knew who I was. Because I actually didn't think he didn't know who he was. And I said, you know who I am, right? And he goes, yeah, Mr. Brooks, yes, yeah. But I couldn't get him. So he deteriorated to the point of like a zombie is all I can say. Yeah. And it's the saddest thing because I didn't know what to do with the guy. I mean, I knew only how to help him as much as any other human being can help someone on the streets in Wilkes-Barre. If you see someone, you give them $1, you give them a cup of coffee. Right. You know, you help them. And I just don't know what to do with him. And we need some place that he can actually go to, and I mean, he would be an amazingly tough case. I mean, you just think of the stench and the filth and the rottenness in his mouth and the smell. I mean, all kinds of horrible health stuff. But the mental side of it is something I'm totally incapable of dealing with. Matter of fact, I can't even deal with my own mental health from time to time, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it is such a daunting thing that I could see sometimes in my life. You know, you got too much on your table, too much on your desk, you got so much work to do, you got 10 phone calls to return, and what do? You freeze. Yep. And you take a couple of breaths and say, all right, make that one phone call. Well, this guy can't do any of that, right? So if someone like me and you, right, who are considered semi-normal,
right? Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Right. You know, so this guy is totally out. Well, what you know what happens is I don't know how to deal with them, so you don't deal with them anymore. Now, and that makes me feel terrible. But there has to be some place. You know, I know a lot of stuff is just Band-Aids. It's Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. And it is not the suture.
That's the story that I just said this morning, actually. Well, yeah, I guess this morning. I got to think about time frame here. Yeah.
Right. You lose your sense of time. All these guys all their time is gone.
That's another reason why. Yeah.
Right.
So as what I said is we're great at throwing money at a problem, right? And all it does is put a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
We need to take those Band-Aids off. We need to suture them. And so, you know, I talk about, you know, I had a conversation with a gentleman here this morning that, you know, he didn't want to be on TV or be on this thing, and I understand that, but we were talking about like, you might throw $20 million to a problem that only might really cost only $1 million to do.
Oh, well,
you know,
right.
And that's one of the biggest issues out there. Right. And so I agree with you. I truly think, you know, if I had that magic wand in my hand, I think you build a building, right, that can house these individuals. And so, we don't have them on the square anymore. We don't have them in the area that's, you know, causing issues. They're in a controlled, safe setting that we now can work with that individual, that we can use professionals in the community to come in and start getting the resources that they need and determine, you know what, this individual can't live on their own. There's mental, cognitive behavior that we just can't fix. So let's get the experts in, let's get them into a place that's safe and move through there. And with other individuals, you know what, let's get them back on track, get them where they need to go, and then do the aftercare. And follow them on the after part.
You know, there's a certain homeless population. I'm assuming they're homeless. They have to be, because I constantly, all I see them is either here or on the River Common, walking down Jackson Street to the soup kitchen. And I've seen the same guys for, oh my gosh, I can say more than a decade. But not like my other friend who is spiraled out of control. These guys are still have all their faculties and all the control. And I said to myself, how are they really surviving? You know, I do notice we'll have better clothes on. My other friend is dirty. These guys actually are clean. But I'm like, why?
but
no,
I
I've
think
never talked to any of these guys.
I will tell you that it's because of us,
Okay.
and I say that in a negative way, right? I'm not saying that in a positive way. We have a tendency, and I read the book When Helping Hurts, and I recommend everyone to read that book.
When Helping Hurts, okay.
What by Stephen Frick and Corbett, not our Corbett that we know, but Corbett. And so, what's interesting about that is that he's saying, listen, all these agencies, right? They hand out what they need. So I come to an agency and I say I need jeans. We give them jeans, and then they go to another agency and we need jeans, and we need jeans, and then eventually they have all these things
Is
that
that
they need.
because some agency says, "Oh, we have a grant for jeans," and
or
you
or
apply
they,
for
and they don't
that,
communicate, or
and
they
they
don't
keep-
communicate with other agencies, right?
Right.
And so they know that the next week when that goes on, I need to get another pair of jeans because I lost mine or they got ruined, and so they go to I need another pair of jeans, and here's your jeans. And so they don't communicate with each other, but they know that we are safe because we got agencies out there that are willing to give us the stuff that we need.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying stop that, because if we do, then we're not helping mankind and we're not being good Christians.
So
and
these
moving.
are survival modes
Yeah,
of these people who know, all right, when I need jeans, I go here.
Right.
I need food, I go
Right.
here, right?
And not just go here, but go to the next spot and get the same thing.
Right.
And go to the next spot.
Right.
And so my question is, like, how many jeans do you go through in a month? Probably
Yeah.
one or two, or at the most probably one, but they go through 12. Like, and so that's not rational decision making.
Well, here's another thing I see is, and I don't want to fault them for their individual ministries, but there are a lot of churches that have food pantries, mine included. But you go to the next block and you'll see the next church. And I mean, from the volunteerism side inside a particular church, it's hard getting people to do this, and you'll get a little cadre of people and they're doing it, but yet it's being done here. And then there's a big agency that is doing it too, right? I mean, a really big agency that is doing it.
And so Keystone Mission used to do that.
And that drives me crazy that I see this duplication of service all over the place, knowing that in a really struggling, some of these are struggling churches, heart's in the right place, but maybe their ministry could be something else because the same things done down a church down this block.
Amen. I mean, so
that drives me nuts.
we did that, and we were
Right.
the leading distribution for food and clothing here in Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
Okay, and I read When Helping Hurts. God put in my heart that we need to change something.
Right.
Brought it to the board, told them we're killing these people by doing what we're doing. If I'm seeing the same person getting food for the last 8 years, something's wrong here. Aren't we supposed to change their life? And so we did away with our distribution project, and we don't do that anymore, that service. And now we do transformation.
Right.
We change people's lives, and so because of that, we're seeing a better outcome and a better return. But I agree with you. Agencies need to either A, start communicating with each other and talking about it, including churches, or B, we need to come up with a better system of how to do this and get it out there, because we are hurting, and I will go as far as saying we're killing people because we're enabling this behavior and letting them go. Wouldn't we better to start teaching them how to use a skill that they know, that they can go back and start making money and bringing in, and then they can buy their own pair of jeans, and they can buy their own food. And then, I always tell my staff is my goal is to put us out of business, because if I do that, we did something right.
Correct.
Right. And so I agree. And the question is how do we make that happen? How do we do that? I'm a big advocate. I'm very blunt. You know me. I like to tell it like it is, and I will tell it like it is, because I think we need to have people start speaking the truth out there and challenging our own agencies.
Sure.
And saying, let's communicate, let's work together, let's make a team. And that's one of the big things that Keystone Mission's about. It's in our mission statement. We're the catalyst of the community. We want to bring that community together to say, listen, we're going to make this accomplish this. And that just doesn't mean social services. That means government coming together with us. That means community coming together with us. And that's the church community coming together with us. With all these entities together, I mean, the sky's the limit. We could probably solve almost everything, that's out there. But, I think that you're right. And I think that's one of the issues that's out there that we need to fix. So, but I know that you're a busy man. I know you got a lot going on. I know you give the tours during Halloween, right?
No, that's another guy does the ghost tour.
Okay.
So mine's architecture tour, and I got to tell you, it was really wonderful to give a tour. There were 27 senior citizens who come up from Philadelphia. I've been doing this for over a decade, and they come up. Essentially, you know why they really come up? They come up to go to the casino, but before they get to the casino,
You capture them.
we captured them. They go to the Frederick Stegmeyer mansion, have a taste of chocolate and Stegmeyer beer.
Yep.
They get me. They get a little tour inside the courthouse. They go up to Hillside Farms, get an ice cream cone. See the fall leaves. It's called a fall foliage tour.
Yep.
But it's wonderful. For me, I'm always showing off Wilkes-Barre. Right? For 19 years, I've been doing architectural walking tours. I do them to show off our beautiful assets.
Mm-hmm.
But our people are also our assets. And
Yep.
the guy who's still over there right now on that bench is also an asset.
Yep.
And it breaks my heart that he can't see the other assets also, that there are the beauty around us.
Yep.
Because he's mired in his own problems.
Right. And trying to get out of them.
Right.
But I commend you what you're doing.
Sure.
Keep up the good work,
All right,
and
buddy.
we'll look forward to seeing what it brings to the future.
Yeah,
So
right.
thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
Anytime.